And here I thought
there was very little from the Democrats even criticizing Judge Kavanaugh's opinions. Over 300 opinions. They've got over 10,000 pages of judicial opinions he's written. There's a little bit of criticism, but not much. And I think that speaks volumes about, much like Neil Gorsuch, where they kept trying to find a punch they could land on him. I didn't see any Democrats landing a punch on Judge Kavanaugh.
And blessed to be a part of your day, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, live from Washington, D.C., holding their feet to the fire. What an interesting day yesterday as Judge Kavanaugh seeks to become Justice Kavanaugh. With us to discuss, Robert Spencer from Jihad Watch, author of The History of Jihad from Muhammad to ISIS. We've had him on for years. Now we have him here in the modern equivalent of the Star Wars bar, Radio Row, about a block away from the Capitol. Good morning, sir.
Great to be here. Thanks, Kevin.
You know, Mr. Spencer, we've kind of taken our eye off of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, considering all the things that are going on here domestically? And if so, is that a danger?
Yes and yes. It certainly is understandable in light of the fact that the president very quickly rolled up ISIS's domains in Iraq and Syria after he took office. And it seemed as if, well, maybe this whole problem is over. The thing is, though, that ISIS had 30,000 foreign fighters from 100 different countries in its heyday. Most of those men are still alive. A lot of them have come back, even to the United States, and they're just biding their time until they can strike here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about sleeper cells, if you will, and how much of a danger that is. We have the guy in Seattle, Washington, or Tacoma, or wherever. He gets on the plane, flies around, and just crashes, and you think to yourself, how can this happen in a post-9/11 world? How in danger are we, sir?
Well, very much so. Unfortunately, we just saw in New Mexico a sleeper cell. We had a group of Muslims way out in the country, away from everywhere, and they're training children to be school shooters. If it hadn't been for the fact that there were irregularities with their lease, such that the landlord was suspicious of what was going on, and then there were reports of child abuse, there might have been school shootings coming out of that compound, and there are other compounds like it all around the country today that have been known for years. But nothing is done because in many cases, even law enforcement is intimidated by fears of being thought of as racist or Islamophobic, and so they don't go in or act upon alarm that they have gotten from the neighbors.
Well, and unlike the people in San Bernardino, the neighbors there weren't afraid of being called Islamophobes or racist or anything else. They did their duty.
Yes, and that's a rare thing, though. But we have to acknowledge the fact that to a tremendous degree our own security is intimidated by fears of this kind. There was a case in Fort Dix about 12 years ago where there was a group of Muslims, they were going to go shoot up Fort Dix, kill as many American soldiers as possible. The plot was foiled by a young man who found out about it, but first he hesitated and he went to his boss and he said, should I go to the police about this or would that be racist? And the fact that he even hesitated is an indication of how far down the rabbit hole we've already gone.
Who do you blame for that?
The American Muslim advocacy groups and their leftist allies that have continually, since before 9/11, tarred any honest analysis of jihad terrorism and its motivating ideology within the teachings of Islam as bigotry and Islamophobia.
Robert Spencer with us live from Radio Row here in Washington, D.C., holding their feet to the fire. We are going to take your calls on Judge Kavanaugh, Justice Kavanaugh. We are going to find out more about immigration here. Blessed to be a part of your day from Washington. What's the balance? What's the balance between going after the bad people? Is it profiling? Because, you see it now in Idaho thanks to former President Obama's refugee program. You have people wearing full burqas. 5 years in Idaho, that wasn't the case. Now you see this and you think to yourself, should I be concerned? And then you have in America, of course, the First Amendment. And, how do we coexist when many of the radicals, or maybe the mainstream, I don't know, they look at the Crusades as the great reference point?
Well, there's no doubt that the full burqa is a statement. But people are still innocent until proven guilty. It's not as if just wearing it is some kind of a crime.
But there is an uncomfortable aspect for most Americans when they see that.
And it's meant to be. It's meant to make Americans uncomfortable. That is part of the point of it. To say, we are present here, we're staying, and we have radically different values from you, and we're ultimately going to impose our values upon you. And there is no doubt that that is behind the incredible proliferation over the last few years in Idaho as well as everywhere else of the ostentatious wearing of Islamic garb rather than any attempt to assimilate. At the same time, we need to understand that while there is the First Amendment, it's not some license to break other laws, and that's where the balance can be found. That if you are in the United States and you are preaching warfare against people who don't believe in your religion, or the subjugation of women, or any number of other things that are against American law, then that's against American law, no matter how much it's part of your religion.
Well, let's go back to what happened in Detroit then.
Okay.
What's going on in Detroit? I thought there was a separation of church and state, but people go to Detroit all the time. They've got the mosques everywhere. They've got the bells ringing. What's going on there?
Well, that's exactly where we need to draw the line. And that Detroit, the whole Detroit area, is an object lesson in what happens when the line is not drawn. That you had, for example, in Dearborn a few years back, some Christian preachers were actually arrested and jailed for preaching Christianity to Muslims. Now, that's not illegal in the United States, but it's illegal under Islamic law. And it was because Dearborn is so much controlled by Islamic elements that arrest was able to happen. Now, ultimately, the charges were thrown out and the whole thing was shelved. But the fact that it happened at all is an indication that there are people among the Muslim communities in the United States who are trying to bring Islamic law here and not to assimilate into American society and accept American law. And that has to be challenged forthrightly and without apology.
Right. Easier said than done,
yes.
Considering we seem to have a bias against Christianity, and yet you have what's going on in Detroit and others, and people are overly sensitive. We're de-Christianizing the schools, more globalism, more open to other religions. Mr. Spencer, in your books, in your website, in your talks, you've documented this. For people in Idaho that, like a lot of America, that see their country slipping away, what's the action point?
Well, I think we need to very, very strongly reassert the idea that there is one law for all people in the United States. We're not going to have a parallel legal system, and we're not going to admit elements of Islamic law that are at variance with American law. That's going to need a change, a very tremendous political change across the spectrum. The president, I think, is on board, but there are many people, even in the Republican establishment as well as the Democrats, who think that that's some terrible, racist, bigoted thing to say. But if we don't say it, then women are going to suffer, many other people are going to suffer because of elements of Islamic law that contradict American law and that deny basic rights to women and other groups.
Mr. Spencer, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
JihadWatch.org is my website, updated many times daily with news and commentary about jihad activity. And the book, The History of Jihad, is available at Amazon.com and in any self-respecting bookstore.
Finally, if Mohammed were around today, what would he think?
He would think that he's doing great, that his people are winning everywhere because the West is intimidated, ignorant, and frightened.
That's a great way to start a Wednesday morning, but we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Robert Spencer, appreciate you very much. Kevin Miller in the morning as we start your day on the right side. And phone number's here, 580-5436. Thank you, sir, 580-KIDO. A big day yesterday, a historic day. And have we ever seen a Supreme Court nominee being treated like this? And it's funny because I was watching the Millennial Revisionists on MSNBC, and they said, never before, except with a few rare exceptions, have we had such a controversial hearing. And I'm thinking, right, let's go back to Judge Bork, let's go back to Judge Thomas, let's go back to Scalia, let's go back to every conservative. Now, why in the world, when it comes to conservatives, do we get the raw deal, and the libs, that's right, the crazy, wacky, zany libs, get to beat up on our justices? Let's take a listen to what happened yesterday. Here is Senator Lindsey Graham. By the way, we are taking your calls, 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
You've been on the court for 12 years. You've had 307 decisions. You've been approved before. So I hope people in the country understand this game. It's a game that I am sad to be part of. It's gotten really bad.
It is a game, and to hear those whining crybabies on Capitol Hill, a block from our secure, in-depth, bunker-laden location, broadcast center, to hear them go off on this man of integrity was just simply crazy.
A judge must be independent and must interpret the law, not make the law. A judge must interpret statutes as written. A judge must interpret the Constitution as written, informed by history and tradition and precedent. In deciding cases, a judge must always keep in mind what Alexander Hamilton said in Federalist 83. The rules of legal interpretation are rules of common sense.
Right. Does that sound like a radical to you? Does that sound like someone that shouldn't get a fair hearing? And maybe you have a life, maybe you decided to do your own thing, and you didn't catch this stuff, but here are the shenanigans that are going to wake you up
Judge
this morning.
Kavanaugh, I am concerned whether you would treat every American equally, or instead show allegiance to the political party and the conservative agenda that has shaped and built your career.
There we have it. Kamala Harris, nominee, soon-to-be Democratic nominee for the White House, saying she's concerned. Let's go to Jim from Middleton with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, I just wanted to make a comment on the gentleman that you had on there about Americans being ignorant and intimidated about what's going on. I wanted to reinforce that not all of us are, Kevin. And that guy's got the right idea in regards to challenging this and pushing back hard. And also, Kevin, Greg Pruitt was on your show the other day, and they're having a Second Amendment rally, or
yes,
I believe on the 8th, this Saturday. And where's it starting at again?
I believe at the Grove. You can go to Idaho Second Amendment Alliance on Facebook or their website, and that should have the information there for you.
Great. Well, I'll spread the word out with my little circle and what have you and get some more people there. Anyway, thanks, Kevin. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim from Middleton. We appreciate it. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here, broadcasting live from D.C. And again, it was the freak show yesterday. We'll take more of your calls on that.
The late Senator Kennedy of Massachusetts called these hearings a Supreme Court nominee's, quote, job interview with the American people. And by that standard, the nominee before us is coming into his job interview with more than 90% of his background hidden.
Right. Not like that Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Kagan or Sotomayor. Now, they were qualified. Qualified for what? You got me. I'd love to hear from you next. Coming up, your phone calls at 580-5436. What do you make of the circus that is Kavanaugh and a very special mystery guest from Idaho that we ran into and we've corralled respectfully due to this person's background? Next, with you and me, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, broadcasting live from D.C., 580 AM, 107.5 FM, KIDO Talk Radio. Well, you never know who you're going to run into the nation's capital. And coming up, we're going to hear from Earl, but our great friend, Canyon County Sheriff Kieran Donahue, here with us. So you're in there, you got your cowboy hat, you're checking in, you're thinking, oh, man, after a day of travel, I can sit back. And here comes Kevin Miller.
Yeah, just of all things in Washington, D.C., and I thought, where the hell's that plane? I'm headed back.
Well, it's great to have you here. You know, I think of you many times when we talk about this issue.
Yes.
Because you don't hold anything back. You talk about the impact it has on Idaho. You were covered by Channel 7 going to the border. I can remember meeting the people, the ranchers and farmers that you know a couple years ago, and it was like 75 shades of Kevin Bacon. They go, well, yeah, we had Kieran Donahue. I go, I know Kieran Donahue. So what brings you to D.C., sir?
Well, actually, about 45 or 50 sheriffs across the country are here today. We were invited for this event through FAIR to have two things happen today, at least. We're going to be doing a press conference up on the Capitol Hill, and then also we have a roundtable discussion at the White House this afternoon for a couple of hours. So that's really significant that we've been invited to sit down to a roundtable discussion and with the administration, and I think that really shows the progressiveness of what this administration has done in terms of involving law enforcement, trying to work collaboratively, trying to get to the core of the issue, and really come up with strategic options as to what we can do and how we can move forward as a country.
So Capitol Hill and the White House today.
Yes.
Okay, let's be a fanboy for a moment.
Okay.
You've dedicated your life to law enforcement. You've been through the ringer like all of us.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're a combination of Burt Reynolds, with that movie Hooper and Walker, Texas Ranger. You're representing Canyon County.
Yes.
1 minute we're talking about beds and jails, and today you're going to the White House.
Yeah.
Take me back to a young man, Kieran Donahue, and your thoughts.
None of that was really thought of in the day. You know, even when I became a law enforcement officer and started in Alaska and then came back to Idaho, really wouldn't have saw myself in this position. I've always been a little bit involved in politics in the old days, but nothing like I am at this level. And I'm very, very excited and very humbled by the fact that I am here. I represent not just Canyon County today, but the Idaho Sheriff's Association, which I'm the president of currently for Idaho. And then, of course, my work on the border with the sheriffs down there and the ranchers, as you already mentioned. It really does come to a culmination of things, and I think that I've just been blessed by God to be able to do that, to be able to speak for many people and many organizations in my efforts to try to represent Idaho and represent the real dangers that we face with illegal immigration and more than anything, the criminal illegal alien that we deal with more than just immigration issues.
More with Kieran Donahue, Sheriff Donahue in a minute. First, traffic and weather together.
I'm News Channel 7's Eric Everett.
Our great friend Canyon County Sheriff Kieran Donahue with us live in Washington, D.C. You know, is this what it takes to get you in the studio?
Yeah. I mean, I do screen your calls. I mean, obviously. I mean, you call often. But
sure, I understand that. So does the White House, but
yeah, it's a balancing thing there.
Right,
you know.
you and the president have that in common, right?
Yeah, right.
What? Yeah, thank you. That I have myself to blame for that. Let's talk a little bit about this issue in Idaho.
Yeah, you know, it's really, it comes back to me, probably the most prominent thing that I speak about and look at is it's not just the immigration, it's what comes with immigration, or what we could say illegal immigration. You really can't blame these folks who are trying to make a better life for themselves, better for their family and things like that, but really they're exploited from the moment they start that journey, and they're exploited primarily by the Mexican cartels. I mean, it's very well founded. This isn't a person in Mexico who just wants to come to America. I mean, it is. They want to come to America. They want to come and have a better life. But the moment they make that decision, they're going to be exploited by the cartels, by the mules, by the coyotes that get them across that border. They're going to force them to carry illegal narcotics. They're going to force them when they're here to partake in the distribution of illegal narcotics. And really there's so much victimization as those people cross into our country, no matter what state you're talking about. It's very well documented, as I said, and I think that's one of the biggest human interest sides of it for me, is the victimization that they experience themselves in human trafficking, sex trafficking, of course the drugs.
And that's going on in Idaho.
Absolutely. It
right.
isn't really, a lot of it starts there, but the human trafficking side of it is very, very extensive. And you know, I just read an article this morning over here in the Washington paper. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the sex trafficking and illegal trafficking of that nature. So we can't just look at one thing and say, well, we're going to solve this, because there's so many facets of it. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that drive me to try to find some kind of reconciliation for it, because I do and have worked in that area where, you know, we're investigating these cases, and you really, really, your heart goes out to these people.
Kieran Donahue, we appreciate you. We're going to get you out a little early. I know it's the humidity. It's a long walk to Capitol Hill. I don't know if you're taking a cab. But
I'll take a cab, because we got a pretty tight schedule, so got to
Sure.
get there and see the folks.
Well, good luck to you on Capitol Hill.
Thank
good
you.
luck to you in Washington, and thanks for making time for us. We do need to catch up when you get back to Idaho.
All right, you too. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you being here, for sure.
Thank you. Be careful. A lot of hostiles out there.
You know it.
Well, you can handle them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's go to Earl in Meridian. Good morning, Earl.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Bless you. Bless your staff. Great show as usual. I hope you're enjoying the humidity. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy, so I empathize. I was just going to say what's interesting about this is with the confirmation hearings, he speaks to enforcing the law. And, of course, the Democrats are going to be highly offended by that, because look how they've treated the law for the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, all of these things. They did nothing to adhere to laws that are laid out. Look at the marijuana passing legalities there and just flaunting the actual federal government and their federal law. So I can see why they were so offended. And, you know, when you were mentioning how eloquent he said what he said, that's exactly it. He said it very well, and they just don't get it. They don't get it.
Well, they don't want to get it, and just the massive amount of interruptions yesterday, Earl. It was so unnecessary, so childlike.
Well, and I want to know how they got into the Capitol Rotunda. I guess it was open, but Senator Grassley could have closed that.
Oh no, I was talking about the libs.
Oh yeah. The interruptions, the asking for more documents, the protesting folks that were there. I don't understand why you just didn't close the gallery out from all those folks and continue to conduct the hearings televised, because that still allows people to see. So it just dumbfounds me. They're not going to win, and I think that they're doing more harm to themselves because the American public is starting to see through this stuff. My personal opinion, I think people are starting to see through, what the Democrats are doing right now. So.
Earl, we appreciate it. Thanks for the shout out about the humidity. God bless.
Yes, bless you, and take care, Kevin. Bless you, bless your staff. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, Earl. Quickly to Dave in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
Yes, good morning. As for Killer Kamala saying that Ted Kennedy says, okay, Ted Kennedy killed one woman, double-teamed another one, and when he thought his nephew had committed a rape, sent the guards to tell the cops he's already left town. And then later he said, well, I knew the police were looking for me, but I didn't know it was a rape. Wait a minute. I knew the police were looking for me. Then you go and say, what's this about? That's his bona fides. I could give you others. Oh, the guy who, never mind. Anyway, they didn't used to do hearings. They just look at the paper record. You know what? I'd like to have a Congress with an operating ethic as good as the Mafia's. You know how you join the Mafia? Somebody vouches for you. You know? So here's the way it works. Those 75 screamers, when you line up to get a ticket, you get a ticket to get a ticket. It's a lottery ticket, okay? Then out of the, zillion lottery tickets, you get a handful of seats. Now, the reason these screamers come in is because the Democrats give them tickets. They pull tickets and they give them to them. So let's say, fine, we'll let you do that, but you tell us who you're bringing, and they come on your ticket, and if they screw up, they get $5,000 and 90 days in jail. You get $10,000 and 180 days in jail. How about that? Next time you have somebody from Congress, I swear, please mention that. And that'll shut those... Well, what about First Amendment? The right for you to swing your fist ends where my nose begins, and the right for you to speak is called salute the uniform. And the fact that they had to take the family out because they were afraid for their security, yeah, $5,000, 90 days in jail, and the person who gave them that ticket, instead of an American getting it, a real American who just a member of the public, they get double that. And they lose their committee assignments, and they can't vote for the rest of their term.
All right, David, thank you. Great point. You're listening to Kevin Miller live from Washington, D.C. More of your calls next on Judge to Justice Kavanaugh. Plus, we're holding their feet to the fire. We're talking immigration. We've got some great newsmakers. A lot going on today. Blessed to be a part of your day, bringing Washington, D.C. from the White House to your house, only on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
As powerful and profound as the documents of this country are, our founding documents, they're not worth much if the people themselves lose faith in them. And I believe the nomination of a judge from all of this list so powerfully speaks to a president's de facto immunity from ongoing investigation prosecution will shake the faith that millions and millions of Americans have in the fairness of the process and the system.
There we have it, Senator Cory Booker making his run for the White House there. It was an audition for the Freak Show, the liberal Freak Show yesterday. It was not America, in my opinion, but we are in the heartland of America, Washington, D.C., broadcasting from the White House to your house, right from Capitol Hill. Kevin Miller in the morning, holding their feet to the fire. Taking your phone calls on Judge Kavanaugh, the hearing yesterday, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The takeaways, the libs are scared, and they should be. Let's begin with Liberty Linda. Liberty Linda, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM from Washington, D.C. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, Kevin, I think that Sarah Sanders needs to loan her suit of armor to Brett Kavanaugh. And, you know, not only does he need her suit of armor, he also needs a shield to shield off all those slings and arrows that were thrown at him yesterday. How can he sit there and go through all that? The Spirit has come down upon me strongly twice in regard to him, and that's all I need for a confirmation hearing for Brett Kavanaugh.
Well, what was so troubling and disappointing, here you have these idiots in the gallery. They're not going to stop it. They're screaming and yelling as if the republic is over. And we live in the most prosperous times, the most blessed times. The era of Obama is over. And here yet we have people that have lost and are a bunch of sore losers. That's right. They're nothing more than a bunch of sore losers seeking to disrupt a man that has accomplished more in his life than all of those slappies put together.
I know. I was sitting there thinking, I don't know if I could take it. And you know, he sits there so reserved, and I saw him taking his own notes. And, of course, he's a judge. He's used to things like this. I mean, not this bad, but he takes those notes. He knows exactly what he's going to say. He knows the law. And, you know, I think he did a marvelous job. I think it was unbelievable. And how did those people get into the hall? Didn't they have police officers at the door watching them? I couldn't believe all the, you know, the noise and everything when those people would come in to the area there.
Well, I couldn't believe they didn't give him the boot quicker.
I know it. How did they even get in there? And I couldn't imagine. You know, these are the leaders of our country, and what they put him through yesterday was absolutely horrible. We know that we're living in different times. We see this going on in our own country, in our own government, and I think we sit there with question marks above our heads. We love this country. You know, it's part of it. Those who understand it. And anyway, we've got another day to go through it, I guess.
Well, here's the you know, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. It doesn't matter. Unfortunately, you know, you have the press going, well, it's the Republicans. No, we didn't start this, Liberty Linda, but we don't have a problem fighting the fight. And just the disrespect shown to Chuck Grassley and others was just crazy yesterday.
It was absolutely, it was crazy. And we're just thankful that you're there and to report to us. We're thankful for all those across our beautiful country that have their hearts and their minds and know what's going on. Their eyes are open. We're thankful for our president and all the good he's doing in our country for us. And that's what we know about it. And so we see the other side now. And, you know, I just hope that maybe after one day of going through it, today might be easier for him. You know, I was thinking maybe he's going to say, this isn't worth it and get up and walk out. But he didn't do that. So I'm thankful for that.
Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a wonderful time where you're there as well.
I appreciate it. We continue on.
On its face, this may look like a normal confirmation hearing. It has all the trappings, all of us up here, all of the cameras out there, the statements, the questions, all of it looks normal. But this is not a normal confirmation hearing.
Liberal Steve, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller, live from Washington, D.C.
Don't try and protect Chucky Grassley. Come on, the guy's a walking zombie. He was born in 1933. It's surprising he could even sit up straight. And what's with Kavanaugh, Brett? He's going to get in. And with Liberty Linda, who are these people? And Kevin Miller, who are these people? How did they get in the door? Oh, man, this is America. This is what we're all about. You guys whine whenever it gets a little tough on the other side.
What was the benefit? What was the benefit of the disruptions yesterday, sir? What did they accomplish besides sending a bunch of people that looks like they needed a bath to the showers?
Oh, there you go, profiling people again.
They just looked like they needed a bath.
And you don't know who half those people were, and you can't go about saying, well, they're probably all.
They didn't look like they had taken a shower lately. That's all.
Well, have you looked in the mirror lately?
I can tell you, I took a shower a couple hours ago. I do the best I can with what I have.
And what I called about was to talk to Donahue, Sheriff Donahue. I want to know why they're spending $4.5 million on a company in Missouri to build boxes for female inmates here in Idaho. I mean, come on. Why are we sending the money out of state? Don't understand that.
By the way, for those of you that missed it, we did have Sheriff Donahue on. He's testifying today on Capitol Hill and going to the White House. We're talking to Liberal Steve, so who would you rather be?
Well, what are you awake? What kind of statement was that? Who would you rather be?
You're attacking Sheriff Donahue.
I didn't attack him. I attacked the people that said we got to get the housing units built in Missouri. He's not the one that said we got to get them built in Missouri.
Then why would you ask him that question?
So he could answer why those people went that route.
It wasn't his decision. All right, do you have anything else, or is this just another day of the Nitwit News?
You know, you really make me sad when you talk like that. I'm going to call you tomorrow and really lay it on the line tomorrow, buddy.
Promises, promises.
I love you.
We love you. All right, thank you, Liberal Steve.
If it's not about documents, if it's not about Judge Kavanaugh's credentials, if it's not about his judicial record, what is this fight about? I believe this fight is nothing more and nothing less than an attempt by our Democratic colleagues to relitigate the 2016 presidential election. 2016 was a hard-fought election all around. And it was the first presidential election in 60 years where Americans went to the polls with a vacant seat on the Supreme Court, one that the next president would fill. Americans knew who had been in that seat, the late Justice Antonin Scalia, one of the greatest jurists ever to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. And it was the first time since President Dwight D. Eisenhower's re-election campaign that a Supreme Court seat was directly on the ballot. Both candidates knew the importance of the vacant Supreme Court seat, and it was a major issue of contention in the presidential election.
And there we have it, Senator Cruz yesterday testifying in the Judiciary Committee before Judge Kavanaugh. Like I said, it was a freak show. We'd love to get your calls on this. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. First of all, the Democrats should be ashamed of what they're doing. They should be ashamed. And especially the Democrats in Idaho that say, oh, we're not like that. Really?
I know that no lawyer goes to court without reviewing the evidence and record. I know, and I know you know, Judge Kavanaugh, that a good judge would not decide a case with only 7% of the key documents. A good judge would not allow a case to move forward if one side dropped 42,000 pages of documents on the other side the night before the case started. And yet, that is where we are today.
More of your calls next. You're listening to Kevin Miller live from Washington, D.C., holding their feet to the fire on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. And we roll on. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Max in Garden City. Max, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning. How are you?
Ready to go. What do you got?
Well, I'll tell you, I guess, first of all, I wanted to congratulate you for honesty and openness in your show. the fact that you would allow an absolute nutbag like liberal Steve, good for you. Good for you. Next is my complaint, like everybody else, about these homeless hippies in the gallery. From what I understand, the speaker had the right to have the gallery cleared anytime he wanted to. But that's not happening. What do you think about the chance that they were paid and sent there by the DNC?
I think it's a very good chance.
And I guess the key is you get your hecklers. These are people who can't get a job. They need a little money for the drugs, so the DNC gives them their money. They get up there and they make their noise. I think they're actually helping Mr. Kavanaugh among anybody who's conservative that's interviewing him. I really do. The more complaint you get from the left, the more the right is right.
Max, great call. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one.
All right, let's go to traffic and weather together to get you to work safely and on time.
This Channel 7's Eric Everett.
Let's go to Lori in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lori.
Hey, Kevin, thank you. I'm concerned about these paid protesters. There's evidence that there's things on the internet. They were paid. And not only that, the Democrat leadership is in on it. They know they're being questioned. I hope they have some hearings on that. And in that movie, The Death of the Nation, Dinesh D'Souza documents, interviews this George Soros that paid Cory Booker, and Cory Booker acknowledges that he got campaign money. He's one of the questioners yesterday of Kavanaugh, the disruptors, and Soros is a Nazi sympathizer. He helped confiscate Jewish property during the war, and this is just evil. We have to fight against this. Our youth are being sold a bill of goods on socialism, and we have to get out and vote and stop these people that are gaining power in Congress and winning these elections. They're becoming more and more radicals in the Democrats winning these elections. It's getting. Our youth have to know the consequences that leads to murderous tyranny if we elect socialists. So I'm just really concerned for that. And
well, you
what's
should
happening
be.
back there.
I would agree.
So good job being there. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori. We continue to hold their feet to the fire. More of your thoughts, your views coming up. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio, holding their feet to the fire thanks to our friends at FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Fox News next. Your home for Fox News Radio in the Treasure Valley, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.